So in this lesson, we're going to look at strings and numbers in Python. So I've got a few programs here which I'm going to quickly go through and explain the purposes of strings. So a string, as mentioned previously, is a series of characters stored in a variable. And here's an example of a string. So we have a string called first string, which has the contents hello, and the second string which has the contents comma, my name is Mr. Bradshaw. Notice that strings always open with a quote and end with a quote. Now the quotes can either be single quotes or double quotes. Why we'd have double quotes or single quotes depending whether you've got quotes within quotes. So for example, let's say I do hello and I want to display that hello, then I use a single quote. But if I use a double quote, then I'd have to use a single quote outside, like so, for that to work. So that's why we use single quotes and double quotes. So that tells me it's a string. Now, a string is essentially, when you look at it, it is a series of letters, and each letter has what we call an index. So the index starts at 0, which is the letter H, 1, E, L, L, O. So effectively, in the computer's memory, you are storing 5 letters, one after the other, in each location in the computer's memory. And they are all collected together and put under the same label, variable name called first string. It's very important that you remember that. So to recap, a variable is a temporary storage of values identified by a label, and a string is a collection of characters, each character indexed. So the first character would be 0 and second would be 1, and so forth. How do we use strings? Well, very simply, we store text or characters in them, and then we print the contents of those strings. So this one here would simply print first string to the screen. This would simply print the second string to the screen. So you'd say, hello, my name is Mr. Bradshaw. What we can do with strings, another thing that's very important in strings, we can use this word called concatenation, which basically means adding strings together. Now in this case, we're saying print the first string plus the second string. Now what this will do, it will take the contents of the first string, which is hello, and add the contents of the second string, which will add my name is Mr. Bradshaw. And you can see the output here. Now, that is one way of doing it, adding the two strings together. Now, as mentioned in a previous lesson, we can add strings because they are of the same type. They are the same data type string. You can't add a number, i.e. an integer or floating point decimal number. You can't add that to a string unless you convert it. We can only add strings if both variables are a string. There's different ways of doing it, of course, and the question you'll ask is why? Well, you can also in Python do first string comma the second string. Now that isn't adding the two strings together. What it is doing is printing the first string and then the second string, so the contents of the first variable and the second variable. Why would you want to do that? Well, if for example you've got variables of different data types and you don't want to add them together, but you just want to display them on the same print line, so in which case, rather than using the concatenation feature, i.e. plus, you would just say number 1 equals 20, the number is, and you can add the two together. Now, if you did want to concatenate, you'd have to add an extra command because you can't add a string and a number together. So you'd have to put print a string plus string convert, that's what string means, convert the string, the number into a string. So you'd have to put number 1, like so. And what that would do, it would take the number, which is an integer, and convert it into a string, and then concatenate it, add that string to the next string, and that would work. So, next part is Well, once we've got a string, what can we do with it? Well, a string has what we call a method, or something you can do with it. And there are lots of methods with strings, and you can Google it and find out, but I'm just going to show you some useful ones. So again, I've set the string to the word hello, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to print the contents of the string dot. So dot means I'm going to apply the following method to that particular variable. Upper means convert it into uppercase, lower, convert it to lowercase, and a nice one called replace, which will replace the word hello with another word, another hello. Now that you can use that function if you had a sentence and you wanted to replace a single word in that sentence with another word, and it's quite a useful feature. Now this one is a bit more difficult. As I said to you at the beginning, a string is broken down into single characters, each character given an index, a value, starting from 0 to the end of the string. So you can specify, rather than printing out the whole string, the particular character in the string. So this bit here will print the first 0 character, as shown on the screen. The second one will produce the third character, or sorry, the fourth character, but it's index 3 because it starts from 0. So it'd be 0, 1, 2, 3, the fourth character. This one will say print the second character, i.e. 0, 1, up to 2. So that will, what it doesn't include 2, it just goes between that and 2, and therefore it'll just display one character as shown on the screen. And this one will say print from the index 2 to the end of the string. Hence I've left a space there because I said, well, just keep on going until you hit the end. And this one's quite a clever one, quite a useful feature. It says do 2 from the end. So print all the characters up to 2 from the end. And there are other features. You can do numbers in between, numbers you can go count backwards. So you can start from the higher number here to a lower number if you wanted to go from the first string backwards to if you wanted to reverse the string, for example. So that is strings, and we're just showing you some of the bits there. So following this, there'll be some exercises you can practice manipulating strings. Thank you.